Hello and welcome to the monthly Q&A. If you'd like to get your question answered in a Q&A like this one, then head on over to ask.fm/Sharmalade and I will do my best to answer your question as long as it's not too rude. First question is from Adam Darlington. How big is your house? So this was asked a year ago, so that would have been when I was living in a bungalow, which is all one floor, it's all ground floor, and it had 2 bedrooms and a really lovely big lounge and a fairly small kitchen and a bathroom. And I loved it because even though it was quite a small property, the lounge had these big patio doors, and out of the patio doors you could see just way into the distance, completely to the horizon, and it looked straight out over Longleat, which is a zoo and a mansion and everything, and it was amazing. And so even though the property itself was very small, it felt very, very vast because of how high up we were, and we were able to look out to the horizon, over the kingdom, as I like to say, looking out over the peasants. But the house that I'm in now, it's an upstairs downstairs, and I've not lived upstairs downstairs for, I want to say, 5 years. I'd never had an upstairs downstairs property. I mean, I had prior to 5 years ago. So it was funny because Maggie, did she live in an upstairs downstairs? She was a puppy when she lived in an upstairs downstairs, but we moved from that. No, she did. She lived in an upstairs downstairs, but it was funny because we had her, she's 8.5 now, but for 4 years of that she was living in just a ground floor property because we lived in a flat prior to the bungalow. And when we moved here, she had to get used to going up and down stairs again, and it was the cutest thing seeing her going up and down the stairs and being all sort of gangly legged and legs flailing and tail helicoptering, and she didn't know what she was doing. But yeah, this house is an upstairs downstairs, and it doesn't quite have the views that the other property had, but we do have a mortgage on this property, which means the money that we're putting into it isn't going into thin air like with rent, and I've been renting for 13 years. Yeah, and so this is the first time in my life that I'm actually able to put money into a property and eventually own it, fingers crossed. The next question is from Tomby. This was a year ago. What has a turtle made it to? A turtle made it to the water. Were you happier 4 months ago than you are now? That's an odd question. 4 months ago, what was I doing 4 months ago? Pretty much the same thing that I'm doing every day, Pinky, trying to take over the world. I like to think of myself as being quite a happy person in general. I don't like, right, how to word this? I don't like drama, but I actually really do like drama, but not drama that's too drama-y, if you know what I mean. I like a bit of goss, but I don't like heavy drama. I like to be like chilled out and maybe just have a little goss here and there, but not about heavy stuff. I'm all about the chill, you know. I'd rather just be quite a neutral person, as annoying as that is to a lot of people. Of course I have my own opinions and things like that, but I find that I'm a happier person when I keep my opinions to myself. 4 months ago, I'd say I'm just in exactly the same position that I'm in now. I'm very, very grateful, and I'm a very happy person in regards to my life and how it's gone, and I'm so pleased that I did stick with my dreams, and I couldn't have stuck with my dreams without the support of you guys and without the support of my partner. You know, he works full time. He goes to an office Monday to Friday. It's an hour commute there and an hour commute back. And he's made a lot of sacrifices for me to be able to do this, and I know that, and I know that you guys support me to no end as well to enable me to be able to do this. So happiness for me, there isn't really a meter for it, because I'm just very, very happy and grateful every day for this and for what I do and for what you guys enable me to be able to do. What are your hobbies? I don't have a lot of hobbies really. My hobby is singing, writing music, gaming. I really like to go out every Friday and Saturday if I can, like Friday night and Saturday night. I usually go out for a curry at my local curry house on a Friday night, and they know us there now and we don't have to like book a table or anything. It's a little bit what's the word, when someone's famous and you know they just walk in and they go, oh yes madame, your table is ready for you. It's a little bit like that. It's great. They know what our drinks are. They always get us me a big bottle of ice cold water and Kingfishers for the other two, which is a beer. And Saturdays I like to do something like I think we've been doing things like crazy golf. We've been visiting some like really sweet spots on the map like Chew Valley, which I didn't really like. Okay, so that sounds terrible. I did like Chew Valley, but basically Chew Valley was it's a valley, so when you drive through into it you're getting sort of low, you're cutting into the hills and the rocky cliffs and that, and I always get this sense of like oppression, like the cliffs are coming in on me a little bit, and I can see people like climbing up them, and I get vertigo as well anyway, so I'm a bit like, oh, this is double whammy this, isn't it? Got the hills coming in, people climbing up, but it's a very, very picturesque place, but very, or what would Ross would be like, it's very, what's the question? What are your hobbies? Oh yeah, so I do like to go out and do things like that, but really my hobbies lie with gaming and music, and just so happens that I do that every day, so great. From Adam Darlington, what are you studying or where are you working? So as I mentioned, this is my job now. I've been self-employed through Patreon for 5 years, so a really long time. Prior to that, I've always worked in retail, and I loved working in retail. I've done office work. I've never done any like manual labour or anything like, you know, bricklaying or anything like that. But I did try office work. Really wasn't for me. Oh my goodness, really wasn't for me. It was like being in a school playground most of the time, and there was so much bitchiness going on, and I just couldn't deal with it. I got made redundant from my office job anyway, so that was fine. I wasn't bothered. And then I went into retail. I got made redundant from one of my most favourite jobs there. I got made redundant from the job after that I worked for. So I was really, really unlucky through my retail days. But I loved them. I loved the people. I love working with the customers. I like being helpful. I really, really enjoyed my retail days. I look back on them really, really fondly, but obviously it wasn't where my passion laid. And I always wanted to pursue singing, and I got to that dreaded sort of month before my 30th birthday, and it was like, I need to make a decision on what I'm doing here. Do I want to pursue my dream, or do I want to take up the team leader job that I'd been offered in retail? And I pursued my dream whilst I was on the shop floor. I was working. I've told this story like a million times, but my Patreon page got to a point where, as I was on the shop floor checking my phone, which you're not supposed to do, my Patreon page had garnered enough patrons that I was earning more money from Patreon than I was from the job that I was currently stacking shelves with. So that was an amazing moment. But I've had some really bad times with retail as well, though. My most favourite job was working at an off licence, which I did for 3 years, and I bloody loved it. I transferred from the main branch that I was working at. I moved up into the countryside to go and live with my dad, and I transferred branches, and they made me work New Year's Day, which was fun. You know, when you work retail, you work Christmas, New Year's, all that, you know, jazz. And the day that I opened up the shop on New Year's Day, and they had pinned a note to the wall saying, thanks for all your work, but that's it for you now. Thanks for opening the shop for us on New Year's Day. I was like, you buggers. But I'd had some rough times in retail. We got held up a lot. We had, I've been held at knife point. My friend was held at knife point at the same time, and do you know, it really threw me for six for like 3 days, and then I was back in there again. But that was quite a scary moment. And then they decided to put a shield up. to protect us, because people would come in and pick up like crates and throw them at our heads, and so they wanted to protect us. And as you know, in the UK we don't have guns or anything like that, and if we did I would be such a nervous wreck. But they put up where I was working, and it went all the way around the till, and it had like a plastic door, and you could walk around and close the plastic door and you'd be protected. But I just had these fears that someone would get a gun and try and shoot through the shield instead, and it kind of just put me in a bit of a bad place with working there anymore. But I got made redundant from there anyway, so and the chain of that off license actually closed completely anyway, so it's not actually going anymore. It was called Threshers. But apart from that, I had some really great times in retail, and I do look back on it very fondly. And you do meet the most amazing, diverse individuals when you work in retail, and everyone's got their own stuff going on outside that they love to do. I find with office work it's so soul consuming, like it really does take it out of you, and you have to give like every part of yourself to an office job, and there isn't much room for anything else, which I've sort of seen my partner going through recently. But now obviously I'm working from home, self-employed, and I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. What you doing this weekend? This weekend, so my dad is actually going away this weekend. He's going back down to see his mum in Tenterden because she's not very well. So Ian and I are going to have a nice little cosy weekend, and we're going to go out for our regular curry on Friday night, and then Saturday, Sunday, I know this is going to sound, it doesn't sound sad, I'm really looking forward to it. We are literally going to play World of Warcraft all weekend, and I do not have a problem with it. I'm really looking forward to it. Are you ticklish from Cherry Queen? Sort of. I can kind of turn it off. I've got like a little switch that I can flick, and I can really like switch off the tickly thing. I don't know if other people can do that. You just kind of think, no, it's not tickling me, it's fine. Ian's very, very ticklish on his feet. Like, actually he's ticklish everywhere, like back of his arms, back of his legs, feet, like you name it, he's ticklish. From Adam Darlington, would you ever go on Big Brother? No, never. I don't see the appeal of going on. So, do you know, I used to watch Big Brother religiously when it first came out. I was absolutely enthralled by the thought of just random regular people going into a house and being filmed, and we could just watch their daily happenings. I always remember the narrator, Dear 54 in the Big Brother house. But they really overdid it, didn't they? I mean, how many series of Big Brother has there been now, in the UK at least? There's countless. And it just got more and more boring. I enjoyed the one with Ricky Gervais because he's like my idol. I thought, no wait, did Ricky Gervais go on Big Brother, or did he just do a skit of it? I think he did a skit of it, and it was incredible. He was just so good. From Adam Darlington, do you watch football? I do. I never used to, but my partner supports Tottenham, and he watches football all the time. And it's one of those things, like when you're in a long-term relationship, you start to take on each other's hobbies a little bit. And so I started watching football, didn't really understand any of it. And then I watched the World Cup last year, and I was just swept up with the hype of the World Cup football. It was so damn good. I loved every second of it. I got to know all the players, like the different teams and stuff. And it was a really good time for me to get into football, because when it ended, I could appreciate all these different players going back to their teams. And I'd be like, oh, I know that player, and I know that player, and I know that player. And it didn't give me this sense of, I've just got to support one team. Whereas Ian is very like, Spurs, Spurs, Spurs all the way. And I am as well. I support Spurs too, obviously, because he does. And I don't know what's going on with them lately. They've been terrible, but that's a different story. But yeah, so I do watch football, and I do really get into it, and I really enjoy it. But sometimes I wish that Ian didn't support Spurs so that we could support a team that isn't doing so rubbish at the moment. From Eris K, Hey Sharm, I just wanted to say thank you. Your WoW parodies, especially songs like My Guild or That's Why We PvP, gave me the inspiration to stand to my transsexuality and got me so much closer to finally become the woman I've always been. Best wishes and my deepest thanks from Germany. That's amazing, Eris. I'm really, really happy for you. I can't not read this question because it's just made me think of, right, anybody else has a dedicated bum sponge? Now, apparently that isn't a really good thing to do. You're meant to have like a bum towel, a bum sponge, a bum soap, everything separate. And I remember when I was working in this office years ago, I was like 18, might have been 17. God, that's a long time ago. I remember talking to this boy next to me, and we was talking about showers or baths. Now, I'm a bath girl, but I shower every day and I really hate it. I'd rather bathe than shower. But he did bring up a good point. He said, I can't get on board with sitting in the same water as your bum. And that's so true. And it really rang true with me. So now whenever I have a bath, it always like literally put it in my head that I'm sitting in the same water as my bottom. And I don't know how I feel about that. And on that note, that's the end of the Q&A. So if you want to get a question answered, like do you have a separate bum sponge, answered in a Q&A like this one, head on over to ask.fm/Sharmalade and I will do my best to answer your question. As long as it's not too rude, have a wonderful week, and if you've managed to keep watching this far, then hit me up on Twitch because I've actually started streaming again, and I'm a little bit amateurish, so you have to bear with me. I don't really know how it all works. I'm really bad with that stuff. But I am hoping to stream a fair bit, so come over to my Twitch channel, which is SharmyX, and I might see you there. So have a wonderful week, and I'll see you soon. Bye! Oh God, what was that?